Hey, what's up, Unbroken Nation? I've always wondered this, and I know it's a very vague question, but why do coping mechanisms work and how do they work?
Well, I mean, I think they work in the short term, right? So you drink alcohol, you're disinhibited. You kind of forget your problems, or you smoke, you get a surge of adrenaline through nicotine. Or, sometimes I've had a really rough day, or, some crap happens at home. I got four teenagers and a wife. So there's always, not always, but, there's plenty of drama to go around. And
Mm.
at 10 o'clock, I'll take out my Haagen-Dazs ice cream and have a bowl of ice cream because sugar perks me up, right? That's a coping mechanism. I mean, I like ice cream, but sugar helps. So, I mean, we all have our coping mechanisms. But to make those coping mechanisms healthier, I mean, one of my coping mechanisms is exercise, right? And that's a healthy coping mechanism. People do drugs to kind of escape, but once you come down, wherever you go, there you are.
Yeah, that's so true, and I think that's one of the really hard truths of life is like sitting in that. When I think about the journey and just I want to zero in here a little bit just into this idea, and really the baseline of the book is giving people tools, men specifically over the age of 35, tools for longevity and health. What are kind of like the most important markers that they should be looking at as for health and longevity? And dude, there's just so much information. I feel like overwhelmed sometimes. I'm like, am I doing keto this week? Am I using a Whoop? Should I do the Aura ring? Like all these things, right? And it's like what are the most important things? Just be like, am I healthy? Like what are the markers?
Yeah, I mean, so in the book is about prevention and early intervention, but it's written by myself and 60 other, you know, world-renowned men's health experts and physicians, right? So you're not getting me as a urologist telling you about eye health or foot health or hand health or spine health or brain health. You have people who are experts in those fields. And so there's the stuff to get you to the 99th percentile, and then there's the stuff to get you to the top 1 percentile. So there's stuff about peptides and performance and M-Sculpt and PRP and so there's a wealth of that kind of stuff in the book, but really it comes down to simple stuff. Are you an ideal body weight? I had a patient that flew in from Florida to see me, right? And and he's like, well, I'm taking BP 157 and alpha thymosin alpha 1 and this peptide and that peptide. And I looked at him, I said, dude, you got to lose 50 pounds first.
Mm.
Once you lose 50 pounds, then worry about the peptides. So, you know, really no alcohol is good for you, regardless of what studies the red wine companies sponsor. Um, no smoking is good for you. No illegal drugs is good for you. You should exercise 5, 6 times a week at least. Um, don't overeat. Eat high protein, low carb, high fiber diet with healthy fats. I mean, if you do those basic things, most of your markers will be just fine. I mean, there's a ton of other stuff that I talk about in the book. I mean, at 50, make sure you get a colonoscopy. At 50, make sure you get a PSA. Um, I order a lot of heart calcium scans for my patients who have risk factors for cardiovascular disease, which is an amazing study uh, to look at early heart disease. I have a whole chapter on genetics in the book, talk about genetic testing that we can do to predict certain disease states. So, I mean, there's a ton of stuff to do. There's the basic stuff, and then there's the sort of next step up. But the other thing is work with your doctor. And there's an amazing chapter in the book on how to make the most of your doctor's visit because the average doctor visit in the United States is 16 minutes. And I actually have a video on the 21st Century Man website that you can download on how to make the most of your visit to your doctor. And if you got a minute, I can just break it down really quick.
Yeah, I was literally about to ask you to do that.
Yeah, no problem. And this is coming from someone on the inside, right? You got 16 minutes with your doctor. That's it. Don't expect more, right? They're paying doctors less and less money each year. And so we have to cram more patients in an hour. So what you need to do is you need to come to the doctor prepared. Don't talk about your cat. Don't talk about football. Don't talk about, the weather. Come to talk about your health. And when you get there, you hand the doctor a stack of papers. And in that stack of papers is your health history. So your medical issues, what surgeries have you had? Do you drink? Do you smoke? What's your family history? Does everyone in your family have cancer? Does everyone in your family have heart disease? Does everyone in your family have some odd disease like polycystic kidney disease that the doctor needs to know about? Okay, then a complete list of medications and maybe some medications that you've tried that didn't work, and maybe some that you've tried that had side effects. A complete list of imaging studies, right? So if someone comes into my office and they had imaging studies, but they don't have the results, I'm going to have to take my time to go look for those imaging studies, right? That time is your time. And then make a description of why you're there in as much detail as you possibly can. My back started 3 weeks ago when I fell off a ladder. It started on the right side. It was 10 out of 10. Now it's 5 out of 10. I took Advil and Motrin. Something like this happened 5 years ago. I had an MRI. I ended up with an epidural. I ended up with surgery, et cetera, et cetera. So give the whole history and then make a list of questions. These are the 5 or 10 questions that I want answered in this medical visit. And then take that, hand it to your doctor. You'll get a big smile from the doctor. I use a voice dictation system. I go through patients' records, which takes me about 3 or 4 minutes to dictate everything. And then you got me for 13 or 14 minutes, right? Then I can examine you. I can formulate a plan. I can talk to you about the side effects of the medications I'm going to put you on, right? But if I have to spend 3, 4 minutes talking about the weather, and then 5 or 6 minutes taking a history, and then I have to go tell my nurse to go get your labs and your imaging studies, by the time the nurse comes back, I'm looking at my watch going, the next patient's here.